Shalom Israel. This is your brother Yahashua. Today we're gonna go through the precepts and we're gonna have a look at this meme that's been going around that I saw on Facebook. So I figured I'd go ahead and download it and talk about it a little bit. The name of this video, I think I'm gonna call it something like Red versus Ruddy, context versus word, or maybe context is king or something like that. So from you can see from this post, this meme, they got two scriptures on here, and they are looking at Genesis 25 and 1 Samuel chapter 16. Now the point of contention here is really Esau. Now, us brothers in the truth, we understand who Esau is, and we understand the judgments that's been placed on Esau. So what's happening is that people are trying to, create a narrative around this Hebrew word, admoni. And, they see that it's used in multiple places. These two scriptures in particular, where they're trying to tie the description of Esau to the description of David without really understanding that the word itself has a context. And this is how we know that we are the people of the book, to be honest. This is how we know that we wrote it, because this is exactly how Jake talks. Israelites talk like this. We'll use one word and it'll have multiple meanings depending on what we're talking about. A couple of examples of that. The one I always like to use when I'm talking about this is the word hot. So if I tell my kid, my daughter, hey, don't touch that stove, it's hot, I mean that it's going to burn you. It's going to hurt you if you touch it. But if I say, man, that song is hot, turn it up, I'm talking about that I like the song. I'm not saying that the song is going to burn you, right? Or if I was to say, man, dude was hot when he found out about this. Dude was angry, right? I'm not saying that he's going to burn whoever he come across. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of them things, you know what I mean, that Israelites have always done, and we've always had to break it down to the other nations, you know what I mean? So, but the translators, they understood, because, these two meanings are translated accordingly, and we're gonna look at these scriptures, and we're gonna see what we're talking about. Another example here. Let me flip the page, and I'll show you. So I grew up in the South, and this is 100% accurate. It says Southern slang, you good? So that's this one phrase. Look at all the different ways that we use it. You good? It means, are you okay? You good? You are okay. It's like saying everything's gonna be okay. You good? You good? How have you been? You good? Did you get enough? This is just how Jake talks. So again, we're gonna look at the scriptures that was showing in that meme, and see if we can determine what it is exactly that's being said in each one. Okay, so starting here with the first scripture, we got Genesis chapter 25. Now, anybody who has read the Bible, or dibbled and dabbled here and there in the Bible, you'll see that Esau is the only person in the entire Bible that has a physical description tied to him. Why? Because he is the first to be born this way. Nobody on the earth at this time is born this way. That is the significance of him having a physical description tied to him. Physical as in his skin. Okay, so we're gonna have a look at this. Matter of fact, let's go up a little bit more. So Rebecca's pregnant. These two children are fathered by Isaac through Rebecca, and this is an angel speaking to her because she's having what she thinks are complications with the pregnancy. Okay, so like she feels like She feels like something's not right, so she inquires, and this is the response that she got. In verse 23 says, "And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels." So, a lot of times when this topic is brought up, people will disregard this and make it a lot more carnal, as if to say, well, if they twins, then how can they come out looking different, or one be born this way and another one be born that way? But this is a spiritual thing. Through the spirit, this angel is talking to Rebecca and letting her know exactly what we just read. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the top again. Verse 23, "And the Lord," and Yahweh, "said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger." So he's giving her prophecy, right? He's letting her know what the future holds for these two boys. Verse 24, "And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb." So this is where people get hung up, like we was just talking about. They'll say, well, hey, look, if they twins, then they both look the same, or they both got the same characteristics. But remember, verse 23 says that there will be two manner of people, two nations, right? So they separate people. So moving on to verse 25, "And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau." All right. So he came out completely red. All right. Same Hebrew word as we're going to see later on. But the context is telling us here, this is talking about his flesh. How do we know? Let's look at the NLT that's right next to it. The NLT says, "The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat. So they named him Esau." Okay. So from the very first thing, very first thing that they noticed about this firstborn baby, as soon as he came out, is that he was completely red. He was different from any other baby that they had ever seen before. That is the significance. Okay. Let's pull up. Let's pull up this word that everybody's getting hung up on here. Outline of biblical usage. You see red, ruddy of Esau as infant. Okay. So these are the scriptures that this word is used in. All right. So the other part of that meme was this scripture right here, 1 Samuel chapter 16 and then verse 12. What's going on is that the Philistines and the Israelites, they're going at it, right? And Goliath, everybody was afraid of Goliath. So the Most High anointed David to take Goliath down. So let's read it real quick. Let's go to it. 1 Samuel 16 and verse 11 says, "And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither." Verse 12, "And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And Yahweh said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he." So if we see here, ruddy is not talking about his skin. Ruddy is being socialized with his countenance, his beauty, how he looked, hot stove, hot song. Okay? That's exactly what's going on here. It is not saying that David had red hair. It is not saying that David had red skin. Ruddy is being used to describe his attractiveness. David was a pretty boy. Okay? Same word. So, what happens when Goliath comes across David? So, this is 1 Samuel chapter 17. We're going to start at verse 41. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. That Philistine is Goliath. Okay, you see that in the very next translation right there to the right. That's the NLT that I got pulled up right next to it. So again, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. Verse 42. And when the Philistine, Goliath, looked about and saw David, he disdained him. What does disdain mean? He was annoyed by this. Like, Goliath was a warrior, all right? Goliath been killing and slaying for a long, long time, okay? So when he come up to David, he's like, are you serious? You know what I mean? So verse 42 again, and when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. Now, why would Goliath have disdain for David for being red or for having red hair? No, a warrior versus a pretty boy is not something that normally works out for the pretty boy. Okay? So David was not being taken serious by Goliath because he was a pretty boy. He was attractive. That's the whole point of him having disdain, because he was of a fair countenance. He didn't look like a warrior. He didn't look like a fighter. Okay? We can even see in the NLT right there, it says sneering in contempt at this ruddy-faced boy. So he's attractive. He's a pretty boy. He doesn't look like a warrior. I know I keep saying that, but it seems like no matter how many times we cover this topic, man, like it just doesn't seem to stick for some people. So this is me trying to get it to stick. Okay, so hopefully that was clear and concise for you sincere brothers out there. Context is always going to be king when it comes to understanding what's being said in a specific text. All right. Now, of course, the entire Bible has a context, and each chapters have context. Even one verse can have a single context. You know what I mean? But when it comes to words and things like that, what's being said is always going to determine the meaning. Hot stove, hot song. I mean, this is just how we talk. So don't get hung up and caught up in the murkiness of the waters that the other nations try to throw. Man, it's very, very simple. It's not complicated at all. Okay. Esau is not described as ruddy. He's described as red. David is not described as red. He's described as ruddy. All right. Same word, different meaning. All right. Even the translators understood that. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to say shalom to you, family.